Hello and welcome to another Buyer Fireside Chat brought to you by Global Sources. Today we are talking about packaging. This is such an important aspect when you're sourcing from China, India, anywhere, but it's not really talked about much in the industry. And I'm so excited to welcome my guest today. We have Stephen Selikoff from Product Development Academy. Hi, Stephen. How are you doing?
Hello, hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we also have Afolabi, and I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name, Afolabi, so apologies for that. But Afolabi from HONU Worldwide. How are you doing, Afolabi?
I'm good. Hi, Megala. It's nice to be here today.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So we are going to get started in a second with our topic, but before that, I want to inform everyone. I want to announce that Global Sources Virtual Summit is coming back. We're hosting the next summit virtually, of course. We're not yet doing it in person. Hopefully, we'll be able to do it in person next year. But the virtual edition is coming back, and we're hosting it in November. And it's completely free, and it's going to be streamed live on all of Global Sources social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and it's completely free. So you can go ahead and register at globalsources.com/summit. And once you register, you also get access to a free ebook on sustainable sourcing, and you also get to join our Telegram group where you can engage with these speakers and also all of the attendees. Also, this time, the focus of the summit is really on 2022 because we are almost at the end of 2021, and we want to focus on what's ahead in sourcing in e-commerce for 2022. And we've got a couple of different panel discussions where we've got experts who are going to be sharing their insights on what's coming and what you need to do to prepare for the next 12 months. So definitely get a ticket, get registered, and we will see you at the summit in November. Okay. So, and also before we get started, definitely type in your questions in the comment section wherever you're watching from, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Our guests here are going to be answering all of your questions as well. And so let's start with introductions. First of all, Stephen, do you want to do a quick introduction? I mean, I think most people know you. You've been a regular guest on Global Sources for quite a few years now. You've also spoken at the summit, but a quick introduction, please.
Yes. Well, first of all, I love coming here, and you guys are always so gracious, and the people who watch always have really good questions, which is fabulous. So I have been starting at retailers. I was selling at retailers since 2001, online since 2005, sourcing from China from 2005, but going back and forth in person since 2012. And at the same time, while I was having my regular job, I was at Microsoft, eventually global business manager for worldwide retail sales and marketing. So I have a pretty varied viewpoint as an entrepreneur, also from the corporate level, e-commerce and retail. So hopefully that will allow me to answer whatever questions people have, and we can get a good conversation going.
Absolutely. And you've been immersed in packaging for the last 2 weeks, as you were just saying before we went live.
I have been. I love packaging. Here's an interesting thing that people don't realize when it comes to in-store shopping. 64%, that's almost 2 out of 3 shoppers, will pick up a product and buy it without any research, without any looking into it more or anything else, purely based on the package. That package, 2 out of 3 people will buy a product just because of the package. That's powerful, and it's fun.
Absolutely. Well, Afolabi, can you introduce yourself and also tell us a little bit about HONU Worldwide?
No problem. So once again, thank you, Megla, for bringing me here. My name is Afolabi Oyerokun. I have been sourcing product for a long time, not as long as Steve. But my journey started when I developed my own shoes in 2001. And I was looking for somebody to help me make it. And those were the days of dial-up internet, so it wasn't so easy to find anybody to make your products for you. So I finally found a company in Taiwan, and I was able to make the shoes, and I started selling on Amazon 2002. And many people started asking me, companies started asking me to help them source product. So I started the sourcing my sourcing career since then. And then recently I joined forces with Norman, the beard guy, and we started HONU together like 2 years ago. And, it's been fun. I enjoy sourcing. I enjoy product development. I enjoy helping people to develop their product. And packaging is one of my favorite subjects. So I'm really, really happy to join you here tonight. And it's going to be so much fun.
Fantastic. Let's just say hi to a couple of people. We've got Mohammed Al-Rashidi. How are you doing? We've got Matt Sturzer, excited to be on the call today. Andy Craig says, I need to get off my dash and read Stephen's book. Oh my God, you haven't read Stephen's book yet, Andy? Yes, you have to read it.
Well, Andy, it's now
hi,
out
Jenny.
it's in hardcover. So
hi,
have some
Jenny.
fun.
Awesome. You said my name right. Wow. Yeah.
Hi, Matt.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start with the basics first of all. And Stephen, I'm going to start with you. So first of all, what's the difference between online and retail ready packaging?
Well, it's interesting because packaging has to do two things. And the first is super important and even more so for online. And that is, it's got to protect your product. If it doesn't protect, it's useless. And then the second thing is that it sells. And online, your listing sells, but in store, it's the package graphic design. It's what that facing looks like that does the selling for you. So protection, number one. And then the whether it sells or just gives a customer experience is number two. And I don't want to dismiss that customer experience because particularly in the days of unboxing videos, we definitely want a good customer experience even when someone buys online.
Right. Afolabi, do you want to add to that?
I also, when it comes to retail packaging, at least you should be able to design it in such a way that they can put it on the shelf, or they can, hang it on the whatever, or whatever they hang it in the store, and just make it, so many products they can't even stand, or they don't have any holes or anything like that to put it to display. Online you can get away with it, but when it comes to store, it's mandatory that you have your packaging in such a way that the store owner can display it and it can have maximum visibility.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. I lost probably $9 million by making that mistake of Afolabi. I had a product. It was a few years back, and it was a sheet of labels for people who are looking to lose weight. And you put the green labels on things that are good for you, and you stick them all over your food in your house. And the yellow ones are so. The red ones you kind of eat in moderation. And I had it in a clamshell. So I had it in clamshell with a hook because I was testing them through something called ATA Retail. They've been bought since then, but they did clip strips in 7,000 locations. And I was out there and I sold. I did not sell much at all because the design, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, was absolutely wrong. I didn't understand the design, but the structure was great for clip strips. Then I went to Walgreens, which is a major retail chain here in the US, 10,000 stores. And I'd been written up in magazines, bloggers, influential people liked it. Walgreens said, no, thank you, because my packaging was terrible. The buyer later retired, and I had a chance to talk with her. She figured we would sell about 11 a week, which would be 44 a month. And if I just took that and extrapolated out, that came out to $9 million a year. And I lost it all because of packaging was bad. Believe me, I have learned a lot about packaging since then.
So, Stephen, sticking to the basics, let's talk about packaging structure and all of the different options that are available for brands when it comes to packaging. Do you want to sort of give an overview of, what are the options available? There's PB bags, clamshells, cartons, cloth, blister packs, so many different options.
Yeah, there are tons of them. And I was lucky enough to be at a trade show, actually 2 trade shows in the last couple of months about packaging, and I was seeing stuff that I had never seen before. But basics, you're looking at a box, a folded carton, or some people call it a color carton, and that's basically that paper board that folds together. I'm looking for something. I don't have. Oh, here's one here. Here we go. That people are familiar with. That looks like this. Um, But along those lines, you can then get fancier. People who are used to Apple products know how impressive that box is. That's a rigid box. It's going to be more expensive, but it also gives a better feeling. In both of those cases, you want to have it tight around your product, or you want to have an insert to keep your product from shaking around inside of it. Then you can go to the plastic ones, the clam shells, which are cardboard and a piece of plastic put on top of it. Sometimes it's trapped with another piece of plastic, and you can see those if you buy batteries at the store. You'll see those in blister packs and so on. And sometimes they'll have a little opening on the back, so you can just push something through. So you'll see that sometimes even on medications. Moving into the harder, more rigid plastic, those are your clamshells that I absolutely hate because they're horrendous to open up. But then you also get into other types of products. If you're looking at powders and liquids, then you're looking at getting into bottles or sachets. Sachets are these, or like these pouches. And those are great. If you're doing those, you can actually talk to a co-packer. That's the type of factory that puts the liquids and the powders into these types of products. And then there's variations across the board. I've got here an example of a vinyl package for pillowcases that I sold, and that one retailer came along and the exact same product is in a cloth package with the exact same product. It gives a completely different feel. And I don't have one here, but when I sold it in catalogs and online, the exact same product was just in a PP bag. So think about the impression you're going to give, because there's lots of options. And if you don't know what those options are, ask your factory, ask consultants, ask people like Afolabi, because I know he knows a lot. That's ask because you're going to learn. And if you can establish that you're different from your competition, just from the package itself, you're already taking a major step towards differentiation.
Right. Totally makes sense. So, Afolabi, coming to you now, what do you think are some of the things that people can do to make sure that the packaging is secure and can pass a drop test? Of course, a drop test is really important, not only for selling on Amazon, but in general, it's super important to do that. But what are some best practices to make the packaging and product inside it secure?
Well, tagging along with what Steve had mentioned, uh, packaging is one of those things you should never skimp on. You should never try to cut corners when it comes to packaging. Why? Because you could have a beautifully built house, and your house is so good and everything was so nicely done, and then you came to roofing and then you roof it with plastic wrap, and then you expect your house to stand all weather and everything. That's what I see in packaging. One of the tests I do when we're sourcing products and I look at the packaging, I'm like, if I send this product from the East Coast to the West Coast by USPS or UPS, will it make it there? And I actually do it. I actually send products across country, and then I ask the person that receives it, I say, take a photo or video for me and let me see what that package looks like after you receive it. And some of this packaging are completely shattered by the time they get to where they're going. So one of the things I tell people all the time is your packaging you must be able to drop it from 3 feet and 6 feet from different corners, different angles, and they still survive. Remember that packaging is what protects your product. Your product is going to be beaten, it's going to be mishandled, the UPS driver will drop it. Amazon will pour it into the bin when it gets there. If you sell on Amazon and you've never been to an Amazon FBA warehouse, you should take a trip to go see how they handle those products. They take it from the loading dock and actually drop it and just pull it into the bin, and it's brutal. So that's why they're requiring people to have their products pass a 3 feet, 6 feet drop test. So you have to use, whether it's 3-ply, whether it's 5-ply, corrugated box. If you're selling glass or mirror or whatever, something that is fragile, you have to wrap it around with its own bubble wrap, individually with their own bubble wrap, before placing it into the box. And when it gets into the box, you have to surround it again and just make sure it's intact. I bought a glass protector for my fire pit recently, and I was so impressed. It's a 4 glass set, and they packed it. The guy wrapped it so much with bubble wrap that it came here. It was so intact. In the same way, they're so afraid to test the packaging of their product because they're so emotionally attached to that product. Oh, I don't want to mess it up. No, you better mess it up now. If you don't mess it up, you're gonna lose $9 million.
Yeah, I've been there. I went to a supermarket and they were laying flat, and I'm thinking, why are they laying flat? It's because they can't stand up. What an idiot I was.
Yeah.
Cool. So specifically for, like glass, ceramic, all of these products, now what are some options available for protection and for, dunnage or to protect the item inside the box? Can you go over some of the options that are available, and what are the considerations of which material to use? I mean, should you go for styrofoam, or should you do, bubble wrap? How does one decide which sort of material to go with?
Ask an expert. I'll let Afolabi start because there is an expert that everyone has access to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So real quickly, there are trading companies. Everyone knows that. There are factories. Everyone knows that. If a factory is making porcelain cups, that's what every one of their workers do. They eat, sleep, and live because they're making porcelain cups. Believe me, that factory knows how to ship those porcelain cups so they don't break. And when they ship it out themselves, they've got it. They've got dunnage. That's that little stuff that gets squeezed in to the box, or they've got void fillers and so on. With the exception, and if you go to China, you'll see this, with the exception of selling to a trading company. In a trading company, they don't want to pay for all that extras. So they'll put it into a big, gigantic, I can't do my hands and the camera, plastic bin, send it over to the trading company, and the trading company sells them to folks, straight out. And then, you need to put it in a box. The trading company will contact the back box person and say, do you have anything roughly this shape? And it goes around the coffee cup, and it kind of moves around and shakes, but they'll put a logo on the outside and you have it, and you're saying, what's going wrong here? Talk to the factory that makes it. And if you're talking to a trading company, ask them to talk to the factory and find out what is the best way to ship this safe. They'll tell you about the box. They'll tell you about the master carton. They'll even, like Afolabi was saying, a 3-ply or a 5-ply. That's the type of corrugate. It actually has letters. So they'll tell you that it'll be a BC flute. The factory knows all of that. Mm-hmm. You just got to ask the factory or ask your trading company to talk to the factory, because that's the first step. That's your expert.
Yep, I agree. Another way you could do that is buy your competitor's product. If it arrived to you safe, look at what they did. They must have been doing something good. Go to the store. Go to Costco, BJ's, anywhere. Go grab some breakable, fragile items. Open the box. See how they did the packaging. If they did a die cut, shape into it, well, maybe that's what's going to work. If they wrapped it in bubble wrap, well, that's going to work. I recently someone was having an issue. He ordered a glass box, and they were breaking like crazy. And I told him, I said, send me one of those. Let me see why they're breaking. So he shipped it to me, and I looked at it. I'm like, the packaging seems okay. Everything seems nice. What's the reason why this thing is breaking? And then I did a drop test by myself. He had a huge accessory inside the glass box that was moving around. So this accessory was actually bouncing around and hitting the glass. That's what's breaking the glass. But when I tested, he sent me like 10 pieces of this product. I tested the ones with the accessory inside. They all broke. They failed the drop test. And then I tested the one without the accessory. I took out the accessories. It was heavy. And I dropped every single one of them, and they didn't break. I'm like, gotcha. Now I know why they're breaking. These accessories ought to be packed separately, individually wrapped, and put on the side of the box. And then make sure the glass part of your box was facing down where there's not going to be impact. Because he redesigned this product so his supplier couldn't even help him, because he's the one that, engineered this product. So this is the first time this supplier is making this product. So I understand why they couldn't help him. They helped him with the glass box, but the glass box that the supplier is selling never included an accessory, never included that huge accessory that is moving all over. This was the guy's invention, to put this accessory inside a box, and he lost a lot of money doing that. A lot of money. Yeah.
Right.
And I think, everyone loves to talk about the design, but you see how important Afolabi are talking about how important that protection is. That's the first and most important aspect of shipping. This is just a simple little pen. This came from China. A simple little pen and something, and a bookmark, but you can see that they put it into a really soft foam, and it keeps it from shaking around. That's a great example of protecting a product when it ships. And I'm just going to put it in its container here. It's wonderful. It's cool. And there's an example of a great unboxing experience. It's safe, it's protective, and it looks good and gives a great customer experience. And that's for e-commerce, not even for retail.
Right. So I think great tips on how to make the package secure. Let's talk about designing and the customer experience, because it's just so important, whether it's retail. I mean, retail, of course, the whole look of the package is really important, but for e-commerce, also the unpackaging experience or unboxing experience is so important. So what are some tips that you have for people to improve their design and the look and the whole experience that customers have? Afolabi, do you want to go first?
Okay. Steve had given an example about the Apple boxes. You look at these products; they're sexy out of the box. You can tell they put some thought into the design. They just didn't say, "Oh, here is my product. Just slap it into a box." If 2 out of 3 people make their decision at the store to buy a product just by the packaging, that packaging ought to be really designed. We have to start putting a lot of thought into how we design our packaging, because first impression matters. People are going to look at your packaging, and it creates a premium value, a premium perceived value. You can see 2 people can be selling the same product, and one has a really, really nicely designed packaging. Another has a crappy one. Even though they're selling the same thing, the one with the cool design, really compelling, really beautiful, it says exactly what the product is. It tells about the features of the product, because you only have less than 5 seconds to convince your buyer to take a product and put it in a shopping cart. if they look at the product and they don't see the features, and they have to be looking and looking and looking and looking before they know what's this product all about, they're going to be like, you know what, I don't even know what this is all about, right? So we have to put a lot of thought into that, because people are going to look at the graphics, they're going to look at perceived value, they're going to look at so many other things. Another thing I wanted to mention is, if you're a product, if you're a company that you have, you're very environmentally, you're selling eco-friendly stuff, right? You put it on your website. We believe in eco-friendly. We save the earth, and and then you ship your product to somebody, and it's full of paper and full of cardboard and styrofoam and all this stuff. They're going to know that you don't really care. You're not putting your thought into this product, because you're breaking every rule that you say you stand for. So if you have a following that are buying your product, and you understand your market very well, you understand your fans very well, you have to be able to make sure you design your packaging around the belief system of your followers, so that way you can connect with them with all the aspects of your product.
Right. And do you think packaging is equally important for low value products? Of course, for premium products, you want to give the whole experience, and like an iPhone, really high value, premium product, great packaging. But what if a product is like very low value, like, I don't know, maybe just a t-shirt or something? Is it equally important to have great packaging for low value products as well?
Absolutely. In fact, even more so right now, today, fourth quarter, because, and I'm just going to talk about e-commerce for a moment, and Amazon, not even retail. People are going out and buying a ton of stuff as gifts, and it's being sent to someone else. So if you buy a t-shirt and it's someone, let's say it's your son, and you give it to him and you say, here's a t-shirt, you're right there in person, that's great. But if you're sending it to someone, you're putting it in the mail or having Amazon or someone else send it to them, and they open it up and that t-shirt's in a cool box, that's a gift-giving experience. And right now in fourth quarter, you're looking at holidays where people are giving gifts. You want your customers to choose you over your competition, because it's going to arrive in a box that makes people feel good, in a package that looks nice, that gives that whole wonderful experience. That sets you apart from others selling the exact same thing that's going to come in a plastic bag shaking around in an oversized Amazon box.
Right.
We've all received those.
We've all received,
this
yes.
big box.
Exactly. So guys watching, if you have any questions about packaging, feel free to type them in the comment section, and Stephen and Afolabi will be answering all questions as well. So Stephen, what other tips do you have for people to enhance the whole experience? I mean, what should we consider in terms of, the design, the colors, the whole look and appearance of the packaging? Any tips and advice?
Yeah, well, let me talk about in-store for a moment, because packaging is so critical. Packaging communicates what your product is. So number one, what is that product? If you have a product that's called the, I don't know, Velasa Hapa Naka, whatever. I'm going towards the dinosaur in Jurassic World, and I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to make up a silly word. But you think, wow, this is so cool, and I can trademark it, and nobody has it, and everything else. And someone looks, they have no idea what it is. Let's say you have anti-gravity sneakers, and you call them anti-gravs. People don't know what that is. So number one thing on your box, in very simple, understandable words, don't put a fancy word for your product. Say what it is. When they invented the automobile, nobody knew what an automobile was, or a car. They called it a horseless carriage. So make sure that it explains simply. Go to any store right now that sells pain relievers, and you've got acetaminophen, you've got ibuprofen, you've got sodium naproxen, you've got all these different brand names. And what do they say on every one of them? Pain reliever. So that you know what it is that you're buying. And these are well-established, recognized brands. So start off right away. Number one, make sure that your product is easily understood. Number two, what is the benefit? How does it make you better, your life better? Why would you want to buy this? So if you do nothing else, make it easy to understand, and then let the customer know why they want to buy it. Then you can get into the features and the number of units and the size, and if is it fireproof, does it smell good or whatever. What is it, and why do you want to buy it? Start off simple and then build from there.
That is fantastic. Great advice. So we've got one question from Matt. Sourcing. I found that packaging is super expensive and could easily tip me over to unprofitable when I'm advertising on Facebook and spending a lot for sales. So any advice on sourcing cost-effective packaging? Who wants to take this? Afolabi?
Yeah.
Afolabi. Well, so there's a ton of ways you could design your packaging depending on the kind of product you're selling. There are also different materials you could use. Remember, Steve was talking about the different materials. In the second question, Megla was asking, there are different materials. Everybody wants to use the same thing. Maybe you're not supposed to use a corrugated box for your product. Maybe you can use a cloth packaging for your product. Maybe you can use a recycled material. Maybe you can ship your product flat. Maybe you could. There's just so many ways you could approach your packaging in an inexpensive way. Some packaging can ship free, and then you assemble it at the final place. Some packaging could be blister pack. Some packaging could be a whole box, and then there are, like we said, there are different ply numbers of packaging. There's different, configuration of materials. You could use a composite material. You could use rice paper. There are different things you could use that, and that could bring down your cost of packaging. And the best way to do it is also to ask your supplier, give me prices on different options. What are the prices on, if I use OPP, what's the price? If I use PVC, what's the price? If I use, composite material, what's the price? I think giving a thought into designing your packaging and not trying to copy everybody just because everybody's using this kind of packaging, I must use it, and then you find out that the cost is so expensive. And also another thing is to source the packaging separately if you have to. Your supplier is not a packaging supplier. If you're making if your product is flower vase, right? Your supplier only supplies the flower vase. He's probably getting the box from the box supplier. If you have to go to the box supplier and source your box or your packaging separately, that may be another way to save, because your supplier will mark up the price of your packaging because he's not a packaging supplier. He's a flower vase supplier, right? So why don't you source your packaging separately? I've done it several times and it works all the time. If I have a feeling that my packaging is it's too expensive, from my main product supplier, I'll be like, wait a minute, let me talk to my packaging supplier. So my packaging supplier would cost the product. I say, make it and then ship it to the flower vase supplier and let them do the final assembly at the flower vase place. So that could be a way for you to lower your cost.
Right. Stephen, anything to add to that?
Well, I'm 100%. Talk to your supplier about options. Just don't assume the same thing. Matt, since I know what your product is, you can also look at doing a sleeve. And this isn't even a full box. And this would work well with your particular product. So keep your mind open to all sorts of of options. And then if you do what Afolabi said, which is you source it yourself and you find a good package supplier, make friends with them, build a relationship, because if you build a whole portfolio of products, you might be coming back to them again and again and again, and now they'll become a favorite package supplier for you. So absolutely use that, but ask.
Yep.
Right. Let's see. We've got one question from Oksana. Question to Stephen, perhaps. Can you recommend any corrugated boxes suppliers in the US by any chance?
Yeah,
So,
Uline, ULINE. They have distribution centers probably within a day or two of every major center in the US. They have a wide variety of sizes, and they can get it to you quick. The only downside is once you get on their mailing list, you will have these horrific catalogs coming every month. When I was married, my ex-wife, we needed some stuff shipped from her home in Nebraska to us in Seattle, and so I had her get on Uline and get a bunch of these cartons. She packed stuff up and sent them off to us. Well, I'll be honest, I did not like my ex-wife's mother-in-law, my ex-wife's mother, and she started complaining about getting these catalogs from Uline every month. And I just like secretly smiled. I had such great joy knowing she was being inundated with these catalogs. But the company itself is great. It's simple. There's lots of others like them, but Uline is so ubiquitous that it's the easiest and simplest one to start with. Afolabi, do you use anyone else, or do you guys use Uline too?
90% of the time I use Uline because they're like 25 minutes from me, like 1,000,000 square feet of warehouse they have around here. It's about 25 minutes from me. So I use them and I get it same day delivery. Another thing is maybe Oksana wants a private label packaging. Maybe she wants a logo. I do know there are some packaging suppliers in the US. Uline does import from Taiwan. I know that for sure. But I know there are packaging suppliers in the US as well. I think the way to find them, Oksana, is to just Google them and say corrugated box supplier USA or custom corrugated box supplier USA. Just make sure you put USA so that Google doesn't find the whole world for you, right? So you end it with USA where you're typing your search terms into Google, and you will find a bunch. And you can go to thomasnet.com as well to be able to yes, it's private label she wants. Okay.
yeah.
Uline will not make private label for you. Just Google it, or you go to thomasnet.com and you just type in corrugated box supplier or custom corrugated box supplier or private label corrugated box supplier in the US in thomasnet.com, or you can even put it on LinkedIn, and you're going to see a lot of companies pop up that they do customize, but it's not cheap, unfortunately.
But if you have a mother-in-law,
Right. Let's also talk about what not to do and some examples of bad packaging. Stephen, do you have any examples of? You mentioned your own the mistake that you made with your own packaging.
I've done.
But what are some
mistakes.
other things that people should not do with their packaging at all? And you also had one example that you were showing us before we started the show. Do you want to talk about that and why
That's
that is not a good?
the general design. People have expectations. Now, the one I showed you, we can't bring up because of the green screen. It doesn't show very well, but it's very clean and white with pink and light blue pastels, and it really looks like it's for feminine hygiene, and it's actually for a selfie ring to allow you to do remote stuff. So the general feel of the package. Campbell's Soup had a line, I think it was called Yes or something like that. For whatever reason, and I can't tell you why, but we all have this thing inside of our head of what dog food cans look like. And the design of the labels on this Campbell's soup made everyone think it was dog food and not soup. And when you see something far across the aisle, that happens. As Afolabi was saying, my little weight loss labels were great if they were on a J hook or a clip strip, but lots of stores, Walmart, for example, are moving away from J hooks. So unless you have something called a PDQ, it's going to be laying flat on the shelf. No one can see something that's flat laying stacked on top of a shelf. So those are mistakes. But frankly, the biggest mistakes is not the structure of the package, but what's on the package. Forgetting to put made in China or made in India or whatever. Forgetting to put your UPC or your FinSKU. Things like that, those errors. Having an OPP bag that needs a suffocation warning and not having it on there. Having something that's a stuffed product and not having a law label on it. These are the mistakes. The biggest mistakes are missing something, not having something. And if I could take one more moment on that, Prop 65. That's the label that says this is known to be carcinogenic or cause cancer and whatever, blah, blah, blah. If you're a small business, and most of us here are, that's super important to have, but you are exempt if you are 10 or less employees. So people will say, oh, you have to have that on the package. No, you don't if you're a small business with 10 or less employees. But the other things, absolutely, certification, nutritional fact labels. Know your product, know what labels have to go on it. The biggest mistake is missing stuff, not the structural problems.
What are some sources to get this information? So let's say somebody is just starting out a new product and they're not sure of what information needs to go on the package. Do you have any suggestions on how to go about getting that information? Are there any, agencies who offer this kind of service?
Well, I'll give you two, and I'm pretty sure Afolabi can give one as well because he helps shipping and so on. So, but number one, or three of them, Google, of course. You just use the Google machine; it'll give you a lot of good information. And so will your inspection company, or hiccups, insurance company, but also. In the US, customs brokers, they have to be licensed. They have to go back and take their certification again every year or two or three, something like that. These guys study what certifications are supposed to be there for importing and on the package and so on. So talk to your customs broker. They are a font of information that people don't use.
Another thing I do is I just buy my competitors' products. I just buy whatever products is in the market. I take a photo. I'm going on in Walgreens or Costco. I take photos of this packaging. If Costco approves it, he must have done a good job, right? So I take the side, the back, the bottom, everywhere. I make sure that I see all the details, and I just use it as a guideline to make my own packaging if I'm selling something similar. Another thing that we were talking about, that Steve was talking about in packaging, the thing I hate most in packaging is if a packaging is too busy. Like it is just full of words and just crowded, and you can't even tell what is it. It's like description is like from top to the bottom, and you're like, is this like a book or what? Look at Apple packaging, look at Dyson packaging. Simple, very simple. Look at Aveeno, look at all these products. They're very, very simple. They go straight to the point. They're promoting the features and the experience you're going to enjoy from the product. They're not going into all the, my mommy said, when I was 12 years old, they don't tell all those kind of stories, So I like products that are very simple and they're not wordy. They don't cause you to sleep just by looking at them. They're just simple, straightforward stuff.
That's why IKEA doesn't put their instructions on the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is such a great point. That's not the place to tell your brand story, for example, right? That's basically where you want to be very clear. Okay, great. And Afolabi, any other examples of bad packaging or things to avoid when designing and thinking about packaging?
Nothing I can think of now to add to that. Maybe Steve may have something.
Yeah, I do have one other thing, which is
Yeah.
your master carton. When you have an inspector look at your product, have them look at the packaging as well. Um, if the carton has everything lined up and it fits tight and everything else, great. But if it looks like it's something you got at the grocery store and you're squeezing things in every other way and there's spaces in the corners and stuff like that, that's just an invitation for breakage and for it not to pass the the 6 foot drop test. If you just think about it structurally, a bunch of square shaped boxes inside a bigger square shaped box and everything's nice and tight, that's going to be safe. If you just have them with lots of space to move around, you're asking for a smaller version of Afolabi's example with the glass box and the heavy thing. It's going to shake, break, and rattle and roll.
Right. Let's also talk about eco-friendly packaging because I think that is just so important, and increasingly, a lot of consumers are also getting aware of this aspect. So, what sort of trends are you guys seeing in terms of eco-friendly packaging? Stephen, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is one people are going to be super excited about, but I will tell you right now, it's still at the stage where it's relatively new, hard to get, and expensive. Plastic. People are used to ABS plastic. People are used to plastic knowing that it's going to last forever and it's terrible for the environment. And here's the 3 letters you want: PHA. It's biodegradable plastic. In 3 years' times, it starts breaking down. In 5 years, it's completely gone. It is so cool. I saw an example of it a couple of months ago, and it was like, wow, this is a game changer. So, yes, plastic that is environmentally friendly, PHA plastic. That to me is the biggest trend, the biggest thing we're going to hear about over the next few years.
Yep. Yep. Eco-friendly packaging is on the rise as everyone, the especially the upcoming generation, they really really take it seriously. Recently, I was talking to my neighbor, and I was complaining that I have a wasp nest, in my yard, and my neighbor was like, "Oh, thank God it's not a bee's nest." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He says, "If it's a bee's nest, you can't touch it." I said, "Why can't I touch it?" He says, "It's a protected species." I'm like, "Since when?" I didn't know that it's a really, really big thing now. In the same way, any teenager, before they buy cosmetics or when they buy your cosmetics, they look at the packaging if it is eco-friendly. If it's not, they are going to scream at everybody on social media and rat you out and complain and bang your door down and say, "This company, don't buy from them anymore because they're using they're using stuff that is dangerous to the environment." So it's really rising now, especially with the next generation, the upcoming generation. So we should start taking it seriously, on minimizing the amount. If your product, if you can't stay away from plastic, then minimize the amount of plastic content in your product. If you can't completely eliminate it, then minimize it. Know your audience. Go the extra mile of using biodegradable products. If it costs you 30 cents more, transfer the cost to your consumer.
Yeah,
Whatever,
absolutely.
whatever more it costs you, add it to your cost, and for conscience sake, to make sure that you can sell it to them and let them pay for it. That's fine.
And you can also, I mean, here's a plastic cup. You say, well, this is terrible for the environment. But do you have options there as well? Number one, if you can make your product recyclable, great. If you can, or biodegradable, great. If you can make your product from recycled materials, then you're helping that way as well. And you can certainly ask to have it made from recycled materials. Um,
Yes.
but I've got the products that I sell. I've got one that's made with TPR, that's thermoplastic rubber, and it's recycled TPR. But you can also offset your carbon footprint. So, before you get to the point where somebody is protesting your packaging and your product, look into offsetting your carbon footprint. And you can just Google that, and there's lots of options as well. The more all of us do, the better, because it's a long time coming, and it's a good thing that us and our customers are very well aware of it.
True.
Right. Got a couple of questions here. So Jane is asking, is there any downside to having your packaging created and made in a different factory than shipped to the manufacturer of the product? So who wants to take this? Afolabi?
I don't think so. Other than the logistics, right? Than the logistics of shipping it from the packaging supplier to your main product supplier. I don't think there's any downside to that.
Yeah. Now, Jane, here's a big secret. Your factory that's making your coffee cup or your plastic cup, or here's a wonderful little dancing panda. Guess what? They're not focused on making packaging. They outsource it.
Yeah.
They have packaging manufacturers already, so that's absolutely normal. There are a couple of landmines to avoid. Don't have your packaging made in Beijing and your product made in Shenzhen, because you're looking at the distance and logistics are just going to be very troublesome. And also make sure the two of them communicate with each other, because you want to make sure that the package manufacturer has the accurate size and the accurate, does it need fillers or dunnage or something. So the more information you have between the two of them, the better. But those are just landmines. As far as a downside, no. It's you might get a better price, honestly, if your factory has a relationship with a packaging creator that they do, $4 million worth of boxes a year. They might be able to get a better price than you can. But don't let that hold you back from looking yourself.
Okay. This is a long question. What do you think shipping products by saying made in whatever countries? What does that mean in online business, especially buying and selling? Both parties had agreed to exchange. But my question is, what does contribute by saying made in? Does mean the more powerful countries are more clients and they can engage with clients? I'm
You
not
don't
quite
have,
sure.
Denise,
Yeah.
you don't have an option there.
Mhm.
You can't turn around and say made in the USA for something made in China. You can't say made in Vietnam for something made in China, even if the boat stops in Vietnam. The rules for that made in are set by trade agreements, international treaties, laws, and this goes. It was even mentioned in Brexit in the UK. These are very high level decisions. You don't have a choice in it. And here's the scary part: um, while the trade wars heated up between China and the U.S., they actually changed the classification of the violation from into a criminal violation. So you can actually get jail time for saying made in someplace other than the actual country it's made in. So don't mess with it. I know that there are some Amazon gurus on YouTube talking about ways of getting around it. You don't want to get around it. I think you had Dan Harris on a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Yes,
So
yes,
he,
we did
another
last month.
another fellow Seattleite, really great guy, and he'll share stories with you of people who literally have gone to jail because of that. Don't do it. Um,
Mhm.
you follow your own head and smarts. Don't follow those gurus. that are saying that. So what countries are best for shopping then? Oh, let's say shopping through global sources for China and other countries, shopping through India. I'll say those right away.
Yeah, and it really depends on where your product is manufactured. I mean, for most products, it will be China. You could go to Taiwan as well, and it really depends on what product you're sourcing. Um, and that depends on which country you're going to go to source that product from. Okay, so guys, any more questions for Stephen and Afolabi? We'll start wrapping up here. We're almost coming to the top of the hour. So type in your questions. Let us know if you have any more packaging related questions, and we will start wrapping up. So what are some top tips, or the one most important tip that you have for people as they are designing packaging and how to make the packaging more effective and how to optimize packaging? What is your one most important tip, Stephen?
Since I started in retail, I always think about retail first. I'll talk about retail. Number one tip is to make sure that your product has shelf impact. That means when a customer walks down the aisle, they see it. It catches their attention. And then once they see it, let them know, as we said earlier, what is the product? How is it going to change you, make your life better, or whatever the benefit? And then you get into the features. It's, a six-pack of so-and-so. It's this and such size. It lasts for so long. It's got this scent or fragrance. But right away, what is it? And the benefit. How does it make your life better? Boom. That's what you want to see.
Afolabi.
What I'll say is reusable packaging. Because reusable packaging is free promotion and free advertising for your product. Like sometimes I bought some handbag for my wife, and we still keep the bag it came in. We kept the packaging it came in because it was so good. You can put some stuff, you can put some casserole and whatever, like leftover food, or you have visitors and they want to have some of the food, you just pack it and give it. It's also, so it would be nice if your packaging is reusable, so that people can continue to use it more and more, even after they've taken your product out of it. You're engraving and ingraining your brand into their subconscious. The more they see your packaging, they wouldn't want to throw it away. That's how good it is. I want my packaging for somebody to be tempted to save it. Like when I buy Apple products or whatever, I unconsciously save the packaging. I don't know why. I just save it. I'm like, this is so good. Maybe I can get some. Maybe I can get some ideas from it. So I still keep it. And my wife is like, "Why are you keeping all these boxes?" I'm like, "I don't know why."
It's because you're embarrassed of all the things you order from Amazon. Come on, we all have a bunch of empty Amazon boxes around the place.
I know.
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's a great tip. And it could be, boxes or maybe even nice jute bags, for example. I recently bought a handbag and that came in a nice jute bag, and I've used, I'm using that bag for other things. So yeah, that's a great tip. Okay, great. I don't see any more questions from anyone, so we'll start wrapping up now. And I want to just share Stephen's and Afolabi's email addresses and their website in case anyone wants more information. You can contact them directly. And I'll also give this opportunity to Stephen and Afolabi to talk a little bit about their services. So Stephen, do you want to tell us a little bit about Product Development Academy and how you help retailers and e-tailers?
Sure. Product Development Academy is basically, we're focused on people from either you can start with your product and what you want to do, or even starting just from the concept, and we take you all the way through to the design, the manufacturing, the logistics, and sales. We are not an Amazon-centric program. We're focused on selling omni-channel, be anywhere that customers want to be. So we're talking independent and specialty retailers. We want you to understand what it takes to be in a big box store, catalogs, and so on, focusing on unique products. And of course, part of that is also packaging. And I welcome you to take a look online. And we were talking earlier. There's also a little book on Amazon. So take a look at this. It really is. It's very helpful. And if you have questions, it's a great way to find answers right away. So welcome to ask me questions as well if you ever want to. You'll see links on the site. Just click and say, hey, let's get 20 minutes together. Happy to do so.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And also we have HONUworldwide.com. That's Afolabi's website. So Afolabi, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes. So HONU Worldwide, we help you with your supply chain management, from sourcing to shipping to clearing to 3PL. We have our own 3PL warehouse here in Pennsylvania. So if you need to store your goods, you need warehousing, you're selling multi-channel. Let's say you're selling on Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Wayfair, House. We will help you provide logistical services whereby we store your goods, and when your orders come in, it flows to us and we help you ship it. And we also do sourcing in the US for people that want to do made in the US sourcing. It's starting to increase a lot because of the shipping and all the issues we're seeing globally. So if you're interested in doing US sourcing, you can reach out to us as well for the US made in the US stamp. And if you have questions, like Steve says, you can send me an email, hit me up on Facebook. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'm very, very passionate about helping people design new products. So if you have an idea, you have an invention that you really want to turn into a product, that's my sweet spot. I'm more like an idea midwife to help you get it from concept to real product. I have developed a lot of products that are top selling now, so I'll be happy to help you bring your idea from concept to bestseller.
Fantastic. I love how you said that, idea midwife.
You bet. Trademark that. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Great. Well, Stephen, Afolabi, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great conversation. And I think we need to do a part 2, maybe in the next couple of months. There's so much to talk about when it comes to packaging. So thank you so much for your time. And before we go, I just want to remind everyone that Global Sources Virtual Summit is back in November. It's live, it's free. So you've got to register now. Head over to globalsources.com/summit, register your free ticket, and we'll see you in the summit. We're focusing a lot on how to prepare your business for 2022, whether it's sourcing trends, e-commerce trends. We're really focused on 2022 and what you need to do to prepare your business for the next 12 months. So I hope to see you at the summit in November. Well, Stephen, Afolabi, thank you so much again for your time, and you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.